Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacconiana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we have a vintage Hadson automatic petrol lighter with a textured synthetic wrap that features an emblem which I believe is a polo player on his horse. This lighter is practically brand new looking. The wick was a little bit contaminated and now it is singed just a little bit. But really, before putting a flint in there and fueling it up and striking it up, it just kind of looked like dust contamination, not necessarily that this lighter had ever been lit up. I have two ways in my mind that this video can go. This is one of those rare occasions on an automatic petrol lighter like this that when you take a look at the file wheel, there was no degraded flint adhered to the file wheel. I really thought that just putting a flint in there would do the trick. The mechanism looked clean enough, seemed to operate smoothly enough. And then as I was preparing for this video, after fueling it and hanging around outside smoking a medical product and checking out the local festivities in regards to the solar eclipse, which was somewhere, I think, about 94 or 96% total here in Oklahoma City. Anyway, there was a little bit of a crowd gathering out there, and so I fueled the lighter up, let it set while I was out there looking at that. And then when I came back in, it didn't seem like it wanted to light very reliably. It almost seemed like the wheel was wet. You know how sometimes you'll fuel up a lighter and get fuel all over the wheel? And that could be a problem too. So I really had to fill this lighter up with fuel before it would ignite. I tipped this thing upside down 3 times, and I think that now maybe part of the volatility that I'm seeing is vapor lock from it being overfilled, which that was pretty obvious right there that we've had some fuel leak out from somewhere. So we'll let that dry before we try to ignite it again. But for a minute there, I thought that perhaps this lighter would be a good candidate to attempt the second flint trick that we talked about a couple weeks ago in one of the comments to another video. And I think I've already made another video in response to that. It was our friend Friedrich Dill who brought it up to begin with, and then John Doe had commented on his comment. And I thought there for a minute, you guys, that this might be a good one to this is kind of funny. I've never had a lighter without no fuel on my hands. I don't know if that was just fuel that was left up underneath there. I don't think there's a leak other than, you know, our typical evaporation type leaks, which you see fuel there on my finger, which probably came out that wick, which we had these conversations, well, we've had them for the last few years, and it was something that our friend Giovanni Abazia said that he did not believe in, is the capillary effect. But I believe that that is exactly what is at play here when that lighter heats up, when that wick is burning, has a flame here on this end. I believe that that lighter is feeding it fuel. And I believe that that is the way the entire system is designed to work. I'm not a physicist or a scientist of any kind. Physicist may even be the wrong field. I'm not an engineer, whatever the proper term would be. But I have seen too many of these lighters that when they are overfilled with fuel, then it is very easy to end up with fuel. And see, now here is just like I was saying earlier, where I feel like we need an extra flint in there. So I don't know if that flint tube might have had some kind of debris in there that I wasn't aware of. But that is, the flint is making contact with the wheel, but not providing any spark. So let's back our flint spring screw out. There is our grooved flint. Now, one thing I will say, and this is what got me to thinking that maybe this would be a good candidate to try the two flints in, and maybe that is where we're at. Maybe that's part of the problem. So now that we've got that flint ground down a little bit, you can see there's just not much pressure. And I could stretch that spring, but rather than doing that, why don't we pay homage to our friends Friedrich and John Doe and just see what happens if we install an extra flint in there. As I said, that spring was obviously a little bit short, and we'll just see if this makes any difference without binding up the mechanism. Get it going in the right direction here. Now we'll tighten it on down. Make sure that I don't have any fuel on my hands to catch my fingers on fire again. And part of that was fuel leaking up. Like I said, I think it was coming up out of the wick because it is overfilled with fuel. And heating a lighter up will increase that capillary effect, at least by my experience. And I think that was pooling a little bit underneath here. That's why we had it catching fire back there like we did earlier. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. So a little bit clunky getting that grooved. That is one thing that is prescribed in the 1954 lighter repair manual. So if a flint is too tight, if the spring and everything is too tight, to, as you're pushing on the plunger, also lift up on the snuffer. So This is a really nice lighter. Hadson. We haven't talked much about it because we've been talking about the function of it. It's marked Hadson, HMC, Japan. And take a close look at that emblem. Is that a polo player? I think that's a polo player on his horse. There's the horse. This is the horse's tail. This is the polo player's mallet. But if somebody recognizes that as some other sport or activity, let me know. Otherwise, we will give this lighter a try around here. And if we get it rounded out or tuned up to proper function, then you will see another video for it soon. Until next time.